throughout the about
I'm
that.
happy to take tips because as a vegetarian, I don't know how to cook meat very well.
Does he cook the meat or do you,
No,
he makes you do it? You're like, great.
I'm right. He thinks, I'm working on my husband. It's always a work in progress,
Yes.
right? I believe food is nutrition, and to take care of health problems, one of the most important ways is to combat that with food.
Right.
Exercise, well-balanced food. And he and I, we're just not there yet. We're getting there.
Soon.
But he does.
Soon.
He eats healthy, but we're working.
Yeah, nice. Well, today we are going to be making a tofu and chickpea black or barbecue sliders. And I'm going to make a simple slaw that you can have either on the side or on top of it. And we're going to be making a mocktail. It's going to be a grapefruit paloma mocktail. Okay. So first with the tofu, when you're cooking with tofu, you want to drain all the excess fluid off of it when making this dish. For this dish, you can see we are going to crumble it with our hands, and we're also cutting it into smaller little pieces. It just gives a little bit of different texture. And I already drained this, but you can see, even though I put the paper towel on it, a different one yesterday, and this still had so much moisture in it. So you really want to try and get it as dry as possible. And so if you want to talk about tofu, I got a lot of questions.
Say that with tofu, the biggest question I get as a breast cancer surgeon is, well, now that I've been diagnosed with breast cancer, I can't have tofu, I can't have a cookie, I can't have anything. That's actually not true at all. Tofu, if we think about where does tofu pretty much originate from? It's in our Asian counterparts, Japan, China. Soy is a huge part of the Asian diet, but the rates of breast cancer are not higher in Asian women. They tend to eat more soy products than what we eat here in America, right? But if that were true, that soy causes breast cancer or perpetuates breast cancer, then we would see a huge discrepancy in the Asian population, Japanese, Chinese, Korean women, but we don't have that. So
Correct.
That's where we can easily see that there has got to be a myth to this perpetuated belief that soy products have estrogen. They do, but it's actually beneficial. My belief is everything in moderation. So if you can balance having a meal of our tofu burgers today and then maybe fish tomorrow, that's a better way to do it. But to say I'm only going to eat tofu or I'm only going to eat one thing is where we have nutritional deficiencies that can lead to a lot more problems. But it's a big misconception that tofu causes or helps perpetuate estrogen levels to cause breast cancer.
And also, I like to choose the organic tofu because then I know it doesn't have the genetically modified ingredients in it, and it is less processed. So
that's the key. You want to stay away from processed food. So when you're looking at buying product, whether you're buying extra from tofu at Trader Joe's, Sprouts, Publix, get into the habit of looking at your ingredients. Look at what's inside of this. What else is extra in this extra firm tofu packet? Is it flavored? But what is it flavored with? And we want to stay away from a long list of ingredients. So I tell my patients, the rule of 6.
And when you look at this, this has less than 6 ingredients in it. I made 1.5 batches of this because we do have so many people in here and I wanted everybody to have a chance to taste it. I like this tofu container. Normally it comes in a big block, but this one comes in 2 smaller blocks. So you don't have to cook it all at once. So I was able to cut this in half and I'm going to be able to save this for a different recipe later. This is really convenient if you're the only one eating tofu in your house. So look for this. This is in the Publix in the produce section. Have you all eaten tofu before? Yeah. Okay. What's your opinion?
Correct.
Yes. And I recommend when you're going out, try some of those vegan restaurants that you see. Eat those. I tried the other day for the first time, and they have it's amazing.
So amazing.
They had a lasagna, and I'm like, there's no way it's going to taste like real lasagna. Oh my gosh, it was absolutely incredible. Really? Okay.
So is their Philly cheesesteak.
Oh wow. What do they make it with? I would love to know what do they make it with? Do you know?
They use seitan, which is basically another product that is plant-based. And what they do is they use the seitan instead of meat, and they have normal. You can choose the non-dairy version of cheese. I am not vegan. So again, I believe in balance. So I
Right.
have no problems with dairy products, again, in moderation. But their cheesesteak is something that you want to go back over and over. and
Okay, that's
over.
good to know. I'm gonna have to plan ahead next time. How long have you been vegetarian?
My entire life.
Okay,
I have never actually tasted meat unless it was
wow.
on accident, but.
And what'd you do? Did you freak out?
Yeah. I did.
What,
did.
what did you accidentally eat?
Oh, we were at a buffet, a little bar, and they had, it was one of the Greek platters where I think it was mixed with beef. And
Yeah,
I misread the sign. I was, oh, this is delicious.
and did your
then-
body feel
It did,
different?
it did.
Yeah,
My stomach wasn't able to process it. So an hour later, I felt a little off. But my husband was like, I watched you eat that and you loved every minute of it.
yeah,
And I said, well, I didn't say that I don't eat meat because I don't think it tastes good. I've just never been exposed to it. My parents were raised vegetarian. They raised their children to be vegetarian.
right.
I do not have any qualms about meat. I do believe in well balanced. So.
Right. And I find when I am not eating any meat for a few days and then I go back to eating an animal protein, I definitely notice a difference in my digestion and things like that.
It does. And I will say, I think we're starting as a society to push towards more balanced rather than, if you look back at commercials, just look at TV commercials.
Mhm.
Everything was focused on having a meat product for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Mhm.
Outside of the US, breakfast, lunch, and dinner is not meat-based. If you go to Europe, they have a very light breakfast with bread and maybe jam and coffee. That's their breakfast. They have a heavier lunch. And then maybe for dinner, instead of having a red meat, they have fish the next night, stuff. But it's very well balanced.
It's got,
It's-
you want to look at the meat as an accompaniment, a
Correct.
condiment. So, and we, I know you being vegetarian, you would love for everyone to automatically switch that. But when I'm talking to my clients, it's kind of like they're very nervous.
Well, and
So slowly transitioning.
slowly transitioning to more of a balance. I don't tell anyone that they have to eat a particular way. I can't push vegetarianism on anyone, and I don't want to. I don't think we
Right.
accomplish any goals with that.
Right.
But what is your favorite food? What can you not live without? You want to incorporate that into your diet so that it's a lifelong change rather than I'm going to do this for January and then in February I'll fall back into my regular patterns.
Right, exactly. And I was seeing somewhere where if you substitute half your animal protein with plant-based proteins, it helps to reduce hypertension. And I know it has some
Colon cancer.
it has some cancer prevention benefits as well.
It does. I think that we have to remember that our body works all together. And the biggest organ that has your immune cells is your colon,
Mhm.
your gut. Your gut is your primary window to what we're eating. So there's a lot of lymph nodes in that area,
Mhm.
and it's sensing all of this. So when we eat healthy, you are really nourishing your body. And that's how I think about it, is how do you nourish your body from the inside out?
Right.
And rather than taking a pill to fix something, let's look at our diet to say, what is causing this? Again, there are certain things that are not diet related. Hypertension, diabetes, 100% can be modified with dietary changes. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. In conjunction with exercise.
Right.
Yeah.
Exercise is very important.
Very important.
And also, I tell my clients I would like for them to try or have 30 different plants in a week. So many times we get stuck in a rut and we have the same old thing every single day, and that can actually lead to nutrient deficiencies. And also the goal of having 30 different plants in a week helps your gut microbiome. And that is like your second brain. It helps to reduce risk of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, depression, anxiety, skin issues, and things like that. And when I say 30 different plants, they're thinking, oh my gosh, 30 different vegetables. Well, no, nuts and seeds are also considered plants.
Mhm.
And so at the end of this, we're going to count how many different plants we got in just this meal. Usually I'm almost hitting that 30 in one meal. And that's pretty amazing, I think. And this is for 30 different in a whole entire week. So
Sure. That's an excellent question. And that's also another misnomer that we need to have a multivitamin. Actually, most of the world's population does not need a daily multivitamin. We don't. I would recommend, first and foremost, getting your nutrition from your diet. So the best way to do it is, I actually, personally, I'm not looking at a particular number. I watch what I eat. So at the end of the day, I hold myself accountable for what I'm eating. The
Yeah.
counting of the plants.
Yeah.
So I have an app and I log what I eat. So at the end of the day, I can say I ate an apple, I had vegetables, I really nourished my body. And if you look in a can of chickpeas, it has more iron than a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
Chickpeas have more iron than a T-bone steak, but yet biggest misconception is that you have to have meat to have protein. You have to have meat to get your iron tablet to iron. And instead of saying that I'm going to eat this, I can replace something in my diet to get that nutrition rather than taking a pill.
Right.
That pill, that vitamin supplementation, let's say for iron, you could have in this chickpea salad and get your day's worth with the added benefit of fiber, which you're not going to get from that iron multivitamin tablet. So plus your body knows how to digest this natural plant-based nutrition. It's not modified, it's not processed. It's simply coming from the plant. It's clean, it's put in a can, has a little bit of sodium, which we all have in our bodies. So it's I think the healthier way to do it. Now, that being said, make sure that with your primary care doctor, if there is a true deficiency, you may need to supplement it, but most of us don't need to. I do not take a multivitamin every day.
I don't either.
No.
Well, maybe, like, I work with clients and I have a meal planning software program where I go through and figure out what your specific needs are based on your anthropometrics, your medical conditions, and then we'll give you goals, and then you could track what you're eating and it'll export a nutrition analysis and you'll kind of see where you're at. Do you need these extra supplements? Exactly. Where are the gaps in your diet? What foods can we put in those gaps so that you're actually getting your nutrition from food? Because you're going to absorb the food nutrients so much better, and it's going to have more health benefits because it doesn't just have iron in the chickpeas. It also has different vitamins and minerals and things like that are going to support all sorts of different health issues that you may have.
I think the best way to describe getting nutrition from your from the world, from food sources is natural. If you look at an avocado, everyone thinks fats are bad for you, but they're not. They're not. Avocado has fat, but in conjunction, naturally, it has fiber. So when you eat avocado, the fat that's supposed to be causing all these quote problems is linked with fiber that's naturally occurring. So the natural food that's in our environment that we can eat actually has both of those things, whereas your multivitamin may only have what you need, those essential fatty oils. We have all those supplements that you can find at Target, Walgreens, CVS. Everything is prepackaged into this tablet, but the natural avocado balances it out.
Yeah.
It balances out your fat with the fiber, so that fiber helps to keep that gut and colon healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've been told to take a lot of vitamin D.
So what I would say is, make sure that we're looking at food and simple ways to say, where can I get my vitamin D supplementation outside of taking these tablets?
And you could also go outside for just, 15 to 20 minutes a day and get some sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sunscreen is super important. Okay. It is,
Yeah.
but then there will be surprising ways. Like I said, chickpeas have iron that you would think would be more in a T-bone steak, but it's actually more from a can of chickpeas. So it can be eye-opening once we start to look into food and saying, what is the nutritional value of what I'm eating?
And also the vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, so you need fat to absorb it. So make sure you're eating it with a meal that you probably would have some fat in it. And fat's not your enemy. Like you were talking about the avocado. I graduated high school in 92. So I was in the Snackwell days of college and ate fat-free everything and actually gained weight because they were supplementing and taking out the fat, putting sugar in it. And when I talked to I used to work with patients that had pancreatic insufficiency, so they needed supplemental vitamins for their fat soluble vitamins. And I always am like, you got to make sure you eat it with fat. Mhm.
Again,
No, it's the A, D, E, and K are the fat soluble vitamins.
it's all about balance, and anything in nature is actually well balanced. So if you look at avocado is my favorite example because it has that fat that everyone is so afraid of. And yes, we were very pro fat-free culture, but they
Yeah,
were extracting nutrition and putting sugar that was too much for what we needed. So I tell my patients that yogurt that you're eating, don't go for the low fat one, go for the simple one that's not with added sugars. So going back to reading labels, simply looking at that yogurt packet that you're getting, the one that's processed has more sugar and less nutritional value rather than the plain bowl of Greek or plain yogurt that you can take and add a little bit of honey to.
Yep.
Some nuts to, and make a more nutritious way to get your vitamin D that your body can absorb, and calcium, plus the fat that you need to absorb that vitamin D.
and that's what, with this recipe, I'm making a homemade barbecue sauce. There's a reason for that. When you go to the grocery store, just take some of those store prepared barbecue sauces and look at the label. You're going to see how much added sugar is on that label. A lot. So one of the ingredients, it was ketchup, but ketchup has a lot of sugar in it. So I bought this from Primal Kitchen. I love this brand. It's used, their salad dressings are made with avocado oil. And, but this has in it, let's see, my eyeballs are 0 grams of added sugar. So if I think in a regular ketchup, it's about 1 teaspoon of sugar per tablespoon of ketchup that you're eating. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous. So when you look at a label, 4 grams of added sugar is equivalent to 1 teaspoon. So that's one of these of pure sugar that you're getting. And when you look at those yogurts, I don't know about you, but I like Baskin Robbins chocolate chip ice cream. So if I'm have a choice to have if I'm have to have sugar, I'm going to want that over the yogurt that I think is healthy.
Correct.
So pay attention to that because you're probably getting a lot more than you realize.
And there's nothing wrong with having ice cream once in a while as a treat. You want your body, you want to be able to enjoy eating and the things that you love. Now, having a whole pint of ice cream and then, Chick-fil-A for lunch, you're getting 0 nutritious value from anything that you're eating. So at the end of the day, when you can look at your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, plus your snacks and say, I really was able to extract my vitamin D from this and the calcium from this and my fiber from this, I know that I'm nourishing at the molecular level what my body needs.
Mm-hmm. And also let's talk a little bit about fiber. We're having fiber in the chickpeas, and it's not necessarily calories in, but it's what you absorb as well. Because when you eat some fiber, it helps to excrete some of the extra stuff like hormones and toxins, and also some of the food out of your body that you're not fully absorbing it.
And also the bloat that we get when our body takes a lot of its resources to absorb things that are not naturally that they can absorb. Guess what happens? Inflammation. Inflammation is the key to the balance of all of our cells, whether you're looking at a cancer or a pneumonia or a COVID infection. It's the balance of an inflammatory process in our body, and what we eat can reflect those subtle changes. So I have patients who tell me all the time, Dr. Saigal, we finished breast cancer treatment. I'm on this hormone blocking pill, and now I've gained 10 pounds and I can't seem to get it off. Well, instead of blaming things on a pill, what I tell my patients is that there could be a combination. We're going through a hormonal flux. Your hormones are changing. We're forcing your body to use this medication to help protect you from breast cancer. But at the same time, your body's trying to figure out what to do at the hormone level. We can't change that. So let's look at it from a different angle and let's work on exercise and dietary changes. And we've made big impacts with just making small changes, reading labels, writing what you eat every day. And to be honest with you, since I started doing that, eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not obese. I don't have blood pressure issues. I don't have diabetes. I want to stay that way. And if I go to work every day and I talk to my patients about making those changes and being proactive about what we're eating, I do it. So that's why I keep my diary and I keep my little food log, and it has made a world of a difference.
It holds you accountable because you're like, do I really want to write this down?
Yeah.
Like that little piece of chocolate the office maid brought in, do I
Yeah.
really want to write it down? And if I do, fine, it's okay
It's okay,
occasionally.
but at the end of the day, let's say for lunch, a patient brings in a chocolate cake. To have a chocolate, I have to have that slice.
Yeah.
But then when I go and I'm looking at my dinner and I'm looking at what I've eaten, I say, I'm really focused, and then I'm actually more motivated to make sure my dinner is very healthy so I can balance it out.
Yes. Yeah, when they,
We're
the
making the
office,
sauce now,
yeah,
right?
we're making the sauce. So in the sauce, I have a shallot, which is in the onion family, allium family, and garlic. Have anyone cooked with shallots before? They're in the produce section.
And sometimes when I don't have shallots, I just take a onion and
Yeah.
I use that as,
And then I've got tomato sauce. I'm using organic tomato sauce. My ketchup.
don't be afraid of the word organic. Sometimes certain markets, things are a little bit more expensive. Don't use that as your end all be all. If you can't.
This
find
was
your-
BOGO. That's why I got
Yeah,
it.
But again, I think, we want to be cost effective when we're eating. We don't want to have a healthy diet and then find out that we're spending $100 more on our groceries, but you want to be thoughtful of what are you getting that's organic, that you can at least know there's no pesticides, no extraneous products on what we're eating.
And there's certain things that you do want to get organic and certain things you don't. Like, for instance, carrots. Carrots grow in the ground, so they're going to be absorbing all the different toxins that could be in the soil. So carrots, celery, those are things I want to
That's a great point.
make sure I get organic.
That is a great.
But like this grapefruit here, I'm not eating I'm
You're
not
not
gonna
eating the
eat the rind, so I'm not gonna buy organic in the grapefruit. Yeah, so you just kind of pick and choose, and you don't feel like, oh, I can't afford organic, so forget it. I'm not gonna try and eat healthy. No. And go to the farmer's market. I love the farmer's market downtown, Freshfield Farms. It's beautiful, and they have so much different farm fresh food it's downtown off of Michigan. And a lot of times those fruits and vegetables are organic and not necessarily labeled as organic. So you're going to get some healthier choices there. Go to farmers markets on the weekends because they're,
Winter Park too?
yeah,
Mhm.
they aren't traveling as far. I really shop locally and what's in season as
Yeah.
well. And don't be afraid of the freezer. Usually the ingredients in the freezer section are picked at the peak of freshness. So sometimes those are better than what you have in the produce station or produce section because it's not actually fresh because it's out of season.
And it's also cost effective because if you buy something and you know that maybe your week is going to be too hectic, you can't use it, it goes in the trash. Whereas if you have something in the freezer, you can use that again and again, maybe for a course of 2 to 3 weeks in a stew like I made yesterday with sweet potatoes.
Uh-huh.
I knew that I wasn't sure when I was going to be able to get to that sweet potato stew. So I bought the frozen version, the frozen diced sweet potatoes,
Perfect.
and it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
That's amazing. And then if you accidentally go a little overboard at the farmer's market, then you could freeze the stuff. You can freeze cherry tomatoes. I have a bunch of them. I know I was shocked too, but I'm like, I'm going to try it because I'm a sucker for BOGO and I keep buying it at Publix and I'm the only one in the house that eats it. So I froze it and I just put it on a roasting pan with some asparagus and roast it together. And it is absolutely delicious. So I also freeze like cauliflower and squash, and I'll put that in my smoothies instead of ice cubes. I'll freeze it and then use that as ice cubes to add more vegetables into my diet, more fiber, and you can't even taste it. It doesn't taste like the vegetable at all.
What about if we made a batch of this? Could we freeze this?
Absolutely.
So that it doesn't go bad because there's no preservatives in what we're making here today. or what
Absolutely.
You're preparing for us today. I wish I could help.
Nope, I freeze them fresh. Because they get all squishy. What? Mm-mm. No. You'd think so, but no, they don't. I'm adding maple syrup as my sweetener in here instead of sugar. Because if you're to do a barbecue, it would be a sugar additive instead. And all right, since I 1.5
so
this,
good.
I have to do math. When they told you when you were younger, you will use your math when you're older, this is when. So, yes, all right, so now I'm making the barbecue sauce. And I'm gonna let that
Doesn't
simmer.
it?
And, all right. Okay, I'm gonna let this, and I'm gonna add my chickpeas. So the chickpeas, this was on sale, the organic. I always choose low sodium when I can. And if you can't find low sodium, you're gonna rinse it off no matter what, but just rinse it off extra carefully and get some of the excess sodium off of that. Whenever I'm following a recipe it often calls for sodium, I don't add the whole amount that they say, because you always can add to it and you can't take away from it. And you don't know what ingredients, how much sodium's in the choice of ingredients that you've used. All right, so now,
I always have chickpeas in my pantry, always.
me too, and I roast them.
Always,
If-
always.
If I'm heating up the stove, I'm going to take some chickpeas, put it into a bowl with a clean dish towel and dry it off. And then I'll put it on my cookie sheet with a little bit of olive oil or avocado oil spray, some salts, and then roast it for about 20 minutes until they get a little crunchy and split in the middle. Then when they're hot, I take them out and I toss it with my favorite seasoning. And I use that as just, instead of eating nuts, because I can have a lot more of that compared to the nuts, calorie for calorie. And then I also add it to my salads. If I have a soup, that's a good crunchy topping to put on your soup. It's absolutely delicious. I love it.
You can add any seasoning. I use Old Bay seasoning if that's what sort of the theme of the salad that I'm trying to make, or paprika and a little bit of turmeric. Turmeric has an incredible anti-inflammatory properties. And I'm sure
Yes.
that's coming through in a lot of
Ye-
cooking shows.
Yes.
It's a big topic of conversation when we're talking about cancer nutrition, is anti-inflammatory elements, and turmeric is one of those spices that you can incorporate easily. It has a very earthy flavor, more of a floral flavor, so it really doesn't change, but it does add a hint. Like yesterday, the
Yeah.
stew that I made, I put a little extra turmeric in there, and I could taste, I know, because this is what I cook with, I could taste it, but I know that if I brought it here, I don't think anyone would be able to say, oh, there's turmeric in here, but it added that anti-inflammatory property that is so important in
Right.
overall health,
Yes.
joint
yes.
pain, arthritis, skin inflammation, gut inflammation. It combats a lot of that.
Pardon me. Okay, so I'm gonna let this simmer for a little bit and get all the flavors to meld together. This tastes great day of, even better the next day, because it just like absorbs all the sauce and flavors. And over here, I'm gonna make a simple slaw. I love cruciferous vegetables, and I know you could talk a lot about how healthful cruciferous vegetables are with cancer prevention.
Fiber.
Yes. And these are great because you can buy one of these and they will last for weeks in your refrigerator. So I just buy one of these and I start slicing it off and just put it back in my fridge. And then the next day when I want some, I can get some more. If it gets a little brown, I cut off the bad part. No big deal. But I shredded the cabbage for this salad for you. This calls for broccoli slaw. Now, if I'm really ambitious, I could totally shave the broccoli stalk if I want to reduce food waste. But I know not everybody has all the time to be in the kitchen or wants to be in the kitchen. So I like to show some shortcuts that are totally okay. And in the produce section at Publix, they have this broccoli slaw that's already made. So I'm using the broccoli slaw.
That's one of my favorite things to grab. I
Yeah,
can saute that with spices and have a warm salad, or I can add that sauteed broccoli slaw to, let's say, leftover soup.
yep,
And
definitely.
it adds a totally different flavor
Mhm.
and crunch
Yes.
and more nutrition to that. So I always have that
Yes.
in my kitchen.
And then, like I mentioned earlier about wanting to get the organic carrots. So I got the organic shredded carrots. And this calls for some scallions or green onions. And this is how I like to store my green onions. You can, once you cut it, you can put it back in your jar of water and it'll actually regrow. It's like, you can get like several, several different, uses out of it. And eventually it gets kind of yucky. This is probably on its way out soon, but it'll grow like 2 or 3 times before I feel like I need to toss it. So this is, a great money saving hack. I keep this in my, top shelf of my refrigerator. You just want to switch out the water when it gets cloudy and yucky. And then also I have parsley here. When you're buying this in the bulk section of, the produce section of the store, make sure you read the label, because parsley looks a lot like cilantro. So I don't want you to be surprised, like, oh my gosh, that tastes a little different. And when you store it, I store it in water. This lasts a lot longer, but you want to make sure you get all the leaves off the bottom and don't have the leaves tucked in the water, because that's going to make it go bad quicker. And I just got these handy dandy little herb cutters. So I could go like this, I could cut it with a knife, but this makes life so much easier. And I have a link to this on the Amazon store in that email that you'll get afterwards if you signed up for the email list. So I'm all about little kitchen shortcuts and tools that are going to help you get stuff on the table faster. I forgot, we didn't mention the composting. Here at the center, we compost. We have a company down, what's the name of the company? O-Town Composting, and they collect all of our compost. And do you want to tell a little bit about it? I'm not really sure the details.
Turn this on. There we go. Yeah, we work with O-Town Composting. Well, they don't need to see me. And they come and we have these big bins back in our kitchen, and you can either do a countertop one or you can do a bigger one. And they'll come. I forget the cadence of it. Usually like once a month you give it to them. But what's really great about the program is that you can either donate your compost and they will use it throughout projects throughout the city of Orlando, or they will give you back a couple times a year a bag of really enriched soil that you can use in your own garden that comes from the compost. So we started doing it here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing, I think early last year. And by the end of the year, I think we were up to something like 30 to 40 pounds per month of composted waste that's now not going into landfills. So especially with Nourish and with everything we've got going on here in the kitchen. So we just love to highlight it. It's O-Town Composting. If anyone's interested, check them out. And I think there might be other companies, but we love them.
Yeah.
So.
Do any of you garden? Yeah.
My idea of gardening is I have a brown raised bed.
Uh-huh.
I'm not a fan of lizards or wildlife. So
Yeah.
I have
I
my
hate
little
lizards.
garden. I don't like them. I'm from the Northeast. I'm not a fan, but I have that in there. I'll have seasonal herbs. And so the reason I like herbs is they pack a huge punch. So that parsley, and I will sometimes have parsley and oregano, Greek oregano adds so much flavor. And I'll take cilantro, oregano, parsley, basil, and I'll chop it up, and I will be getting those little handy dandy or herb
Scissors,
scissors,
yeah.
but I'll chop it up and it makes a beautiful, fresh little mix of herbs that I can add to anything.
Yeah.
When I make bread at home, I'll take that same slurry of chopped herbs with fresh olive oil and drizzle on at the end. The kids love it. They have no idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
They have no idea.
And getting the kids involved in the garden is really good too. So they're more likely to try tasting some of the things. I have one of those tower gardens. We have a bunch that we just got not too long ago in the back. I kill everything in the ground. So I need that because it waters itself on its own.
And again, when we're busy, when we're busy
Yes.
with work, we're busy with kids, we've got basketball practice here, we've got soccer here, you know, the last thing on your mind is to go out to the garden and water.
Right.
And gardening is another form of great exercise.
Mm-hmm.
We have to fill our schedules the way that we need to, but I'm asking for a tower garden.
Yes.
For Valentine's
It's
Day.
amazing. Also with those extra herbs, if you have some that you think are going to be going bad, then you could put them in an ice cube tray with some broth or a little bit of olive oil and freeze it. And then you have it already ready for you for a recipe that you want to throw into like a sauce or something like that at another time. So I like to not waste that much food. So trying to freeze and save as much as possible.
That's what I do too. When I have like lemons go bad so quickly, or limes, or you get that bag and it's like the whole bag, and you're like, I only need 2 for this recipe, but now I have 6. What do I do with that? Lemons, limes, I usually keep in the fridge because you can make this quick salad dressing.
Mm-hmm.
A very quick salad dressing.
Like
It's
when
not
I'm-
processed. It's olive oil, lemon juice, And you can add those herbs that we were just talking about, and it makes a beautiful salad dressing.
Yes. I love taking the lemons and just pre-slicing it and having it in my fridge so I could put it with my water, or get a water bottle that has like an infused section so that it'll just get into your water. It makes me drink more water. It's refreshing. I really like the flavor of it. And I find that if you prep it in advance, you're likely to use it, because if it's in that bag in your fridge, you're not looking at it. So if it's already cut in a container, in a glass container that you can see it, you're reminded when you open up that fridge.
And food prep is so easy. I mean, I will try my best on Sundays to food prep for Monday and Tuesday. I said my best because, we all have things that will pop up for lemons, and I try to be cognizant of that. Let me make my vinaigrette so I can use for today's salad and tomorrow's salad, and not waste that lemon juice that's fresh,
Right,
that's sitting right there in the kitchen. Yeah.
right. Yeah. I buy them at Trader Joe's. They have a Trader Joe's brand. Fit was one of the first ones that ever came out. It's on the top shelf at Publix. I've bought that. I've also made just a mix of vinegar and water and washed with that as well. And you definitely see the residue coming off. So I would you definitely want to wash it before you zest it. You could also freeze the zest too.
That's a great
Yeah.
way to have that, because zest, again, adds that, the oils from the zest is where you get that flavor. So when it smells wonderful, and you only need a little bit.
Okay, so here is our slaw, and we've got the cruciferous vegetables in there, which are really health beneficial and preventing cancer, and has fiber in it.
Packed with all the minerals and nutrition, the vitamins that we take in that multivitamin, it's right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's
And
right there.
for extra crunch and extra nutrition, I'm adding some seeds and to increase our intake of different varieties of plants throughout the week. So I had some sesame seeds at home, pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. I like those. And I buy these in the bulk section at Publix or at Thrive Market. I've gotten some there, and it's a much more economical. But you see this clamshell down here? That's what I got at the bulk section at Publix. This was from Thrive. I'm like, I got to use up these sunflower seeds. I'm not going to eat them all at once. I store my nuts and seeds in the fridge.
Yep.
So that they last longer. And if you, at Christmas time, they always have walnuts and pecans on sale. And I'm a sucker because of BOGO. And so I buy a bunch of it, but I freeze it so that, it will last that much more time. So if I have, I'm making something with pecans, boom, I've got it in my freezer. And they don't freeze in clumps. They just easily pour out and you can use it. So here is my slaw. I used just plain extra virgin olive oil, a lemon, and some cumin and garlic. Yep. And it did call for some salt. I'm not going to add the salt, and you guys can add your own salt. How about that?
Yep.
All right, cool. All right. So it's time to plate these dishes. So let me clear off.
I can help clear off.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I couldn't find small enough slider buns that were whole grain that I liked. I was hoping at Publix, the deli section, they would have something, but they really didn't. But I like Dave's Killer bread for my regular bread. So I've never tried the hamburger buns before. So this is a treat for you guys.
They're really good. I
Yeah.
have them. This is what I typically buy. This is what, if you go to Dr. Saigal's fridge right now, this is in there.
Good.
Most of those things are in there. The chickpeas are there. I may not have all the nuts because of just where I am
Right.
in the cycle, but that's definitely one of those choices that I have.
Perfect.
Again, reading the labels,
Yes.
looking at what you can extract from that carbohydrate, that piece of bread.
There's
that's
4
really
grams of
beneficial.
fiber in this.
Yeah.
Now, with the Dave's Killer bread, I'm surprised, like it does have a little bit more added sugar in it compared to some of the other
Right.
breads, but this has more nutrition. I'm looking at the
Right.
seeds and all this stuff. So I'm like, all right, I'll have an extra gram of added sugar because
One
I'm
extra
getting,
added gram, but then you're getting 2 more grams of fiber or 3 more grams of
Yeah.
fiber. So it all balances out.
totally. And it's helpful to work with, they all have plates. It's helpful to work with someone who's trained in nutrition to help you learn to be a supermarket sleuth, because it's like, I've even been stumped. I'm like, oh, this is a great choice. And then I brought it home like, but I didn't look at the sodium. Oh my gosh. So you have to look at all the different things, and that working with a dietitian or a team, in your clinic will help you with figuring out what food labels are most appropriate to choose.
I
Yes.
can walk around with it as well too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. All right. So,
I'll do the tofu.
okay. And I'll do the slaw. Perfect. Yes, I'll pass the buns. All right.
And the
If you
tofu
could
is done,
open them
right?
up and make it easier for them to serve you.
I'm gonna turn this off now.
Please. Thank you.
Oh, I'm fine. I have 3 boys at home,
How old are your boys?
10, 8, and 7.
And so do they eat vegetarian?
They do actually about 80% of the time. I call them chickatarians,
Uh-huh.
filetarians.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they love that, and I will never deny my children.
Oh,
They can
yes,
make the
Dave's
choices
Killer
that they
Bread.
want. I would hope that they make choices that are healthy for them. And I am leading by example. So I when they know that they're getting Chick-fil-A for lunch, they know for sure for dinner, they better have tons of
Right.
fruits and vegetables.
Where did this? Oh, you have the song. Okay.
It's a
What was
little
I?
more.
Yeah, I put a scoop on top, and you could ask them if they want it on the side
Let
or
me
not.
know. Want a little bit more?
Yeah, and we'll probably have extra for the side as well, but I love a barbecue sandwich with coleslaw on top of it. Yummy. So, and this can be eaten as a side.
How are you?
It can be eaten as a side salad
know.
or on top of your sandwich.
Well, all of us do. I mean, I will say I've been a physician more than half of my life now. And all the things that I'm learning on a regular basis, speaking to nutrition experts, it's been eye-opening.
Yeah, because in your training,
We don't
they
get
didn't
that.
have that much medical or nutrition in your medical training, correct?
No,
And now there's such a push on today's dietitian. It's a publication for dietitians.
Right.
It just came out this month. The cover story
business.
was culinary nutrition, and how there is a bigger push to get physicians training on adequate nutrition, which is so amazing. So I'm really excited about what the future holds. And as I do more of these talks, there's so many more physicians that are like, I'm interested in nutrition. I want to do it. And they're
Yep.
seeing how their patients are really
That's a good idea.
benefiting from it.
well, it's changing, right? 20 years ago, the big things were low fat, fat is bad for you, don't eat eggs.
Yep.
Remember that there was a whole kick. If you eat eggs, you're
gonna die.
cholesterol, you're gonna die.
Oh,
If you drink
yes.
milk,
Where
that's
is,
not good for you.
there.
Everything was low fat. And now we're learning that our bodies actually need protein. It needs carbohydrates.
top?
It needs
Oh,
good
sorry.
fats.
Do you want it on the side too?
And all of those elements will
You're
make
welcome.
are required at the cellular level.
All right, thank you. Do you want it on top and the side? Yes. All right.
All right.
Turn it up. And there you go. And this slaw will hold really well in the refrigerator overnight for a couple days.
You can take that slaw the next day and put it in a wrap with a slice of cheese and take it to
Mhm.
work wrapped up in aluminum foil, which I do very often. That way I have a quick way to eat something healthy.
Open
Um,
up a can of beans and throw
yeah.
it with it. Lentils, black beans.
Yes. I have to go back to work.
There you go. You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I'm a breast cancer surgeon, so I do breast cancer treatment and benign breast cancer, but I'm actually right before the pandemic, I did a cooking demonstration here and it was packed with all of my patients. We were going over recipes that we could use that were healthy and, pro sort of cancer prevention, cancer risk reduction, and in general, overall, there is no such thing as if this element it reduces your risk of cancer. Guess what it's also going to do? It's going to improve your heart health. It's going to improve your diabetic predilection. It's going to help your hypertension. So you get more than just one element from eating healthy. It covers everything actually. we were discussing doing something more in the clinic basis and more along the lines of here on a regular basis, which was my initial intention. February 2020 is when I did my cooking demonstration. The pandemic hit March 2020. I had, in October of 2019, I did an exercise class with all of my patients over at the yoga studio. All of the patients came in, we did spinning, and then we did a yoga outdoors class. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, it was hard to justify having a group come in to do this, but I'm ready to do this again.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay, when you're done getting that plate together, yeah, get your plate. And I brought extra. This is another bread that I like. This is called Joseph's pita bread. And I just use it like a taco. It's got 2 grams of fiber in it, no added sugar, 60 calories. I've been known to go to Little Greek restaurant with my family, and I will I'll put this in my purse and I'll swap out their pita for this pita. Now, don't get me wrong, their pita is amazing, but their pita is like probably close to 300 calories for one. And for me, for my calorie budget for the day, I'd rather have a satisfying meal with a lot of fiber and then have room to eat those calories somewhere else.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
And
Publix. It's at the end cap in the deli section where all the pitas are on the top shelf, but you got to pay attention. Do you want to get the flax, oat bran, and whole wheat one? There's one that's a little bit more processed and has less fiber and more calories. So this one's in the middle. Okay.
And again, don't make it daunting. So start off slowly. Say, okay, I'm
If you
going
want pita with
yeah.
it.
You know, when I started this, I did it piecemeal. I said, what I'm going to do is if I change a huge thing and everything in my diet and the way I look at food, it's going to be overwhelming. So I started
Right.
really, really small.
And you'll revolt because
Yeah.
you're like, what? I don't want to do all these changes.
Yeah.
I'm used to eating
Correct.
this way. And now you're taking all the joy. So no, we're not doing that. We're going to do small incremental changes and build upon it. Like, oh, I like cabbage. All right. How else can I eat cabbage? I can make a wrap with a piece of cabbage and just kind of be like exploration in your kitchen.
And we all have picky eaters, you know,
Mhm.
from here to here. And I
Mhm.
don't actually tell my children, oh, this, as they're eating it, I tell them, look at what we're eating. Look at our plates. You're eating lots of fruits and vegetables. You had your apples. And then at the end of the day, if they want to have something like a dessert, I ask them, well, what do we eat today? How much candy have we had? And you know what? I hold them accountable and they're more inclined to say, you know what? I don't want to have that, Mom. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll eat it tomorrow.
That's good.
Yeah.
And if you do have picky eaters, I always recommend putting fruits and vegetables at the center of the table and making them pick one that they want. My kids don't like the same thing. It's really annoying. So I'm like, here's a variety, choose one of them. And also when my son comes in and I see him, he's like tiptoeing and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yep.
He's going to the snack cabinet. I'm like, dinner's going to be in 20 minutes. And I'm like, you can pick a applesauce or yogurt. If you're hungry, you're not having any of the snacks in that snack cabinet before dinner. So then if he's hungry after dinner and he's eaten enough, then he can have a snack, but usually he doesn't.
Another wonderful way to use this pita bread, olive oil. And then the cumin that's used in some of these are a recipe today. You can sprinkle that on and bake it in the oven and cut it and make pita chips.
Yum. Yes.
Mhm.
Very
You can
yummy.
do that and it's delicious and it's less processed than what you would buy at the store. The other thing that I like to do is olive oil. And if I want a sweeter entity, I'll put a little pinch of cinnamon.
Ooh,
Mhm.
yummy.
Cinnamon and
Good. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm happy. Okay, next what we're gonna do, it's dry January. And I know that alcohol can cause cancer. So I figured why not try a mocktail and see what y'all think. This is going to be a grapefruit Paloma mocktail. I don't really drink liquor, so I don't know what Paloma tastes like normally, but whatever. It's got citrus in it and it's refreshing. So I needed grapefruit. I could have squeezed a bunch of grapefruit for you, but I was like, this is going to be a big fat mess.
and it's hard to do.
Yes. So I will squeeze a lemon for you, but not the grapefruit. But I found this is the only grapefruit I could find in the grocery store that didn't have added sugar to it. So when you're going to use juice, make sure, first of all, it doesn't have extra added sugar to it. I don't really recommend juice all the time unless you're doing a special treat like this because it's stripped of the fiber. This doesn't even list fiber on there because it doesn't have any. So you really want to get the whole fruit, and that's important. Now, juice isn't a complete villain. It does have a lot of vitamins and minerals, antioxidants and things in there too, but it's so much quicker to drink a swig of juice versus eat a whole grapefruit. You probably get full eating a whole grapefruit. Yes. Coumadin, warfarin, and it depends on, it's really, you don't want to make any big changes in your diet. If you're already eating a diet that has vitamin K in it, you don't want to be like you just want to keep it your baseline. But if you're like, oh, I have a heart disease, I need to do all these changes, I need to add in all this vegetables and it's got a lot of vitamin K, that's when you run into problems.
You can have a little bit of that, but again, we're getting back to the point where we don't want juice to replace the eating of the actual fruit.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you're absolutely right. There are some blood thinners that you don't want to have, but you really would have to drink a lot for your body to be able to say that that's going to counter the effect of the medication that you're taking.
Yeah, this is going to have maybe 2 tablespoons of grapefruit juice in your serving. So that's not much. That's not even a serving of fruit juice for you.
And going back to alcohol and cancer and health benefits, I myself do not drink very much. I'm a social drinker, which means that when I go to an event, I may have a glass of wine that I hold so no one keeps asking me to keep drinking. So I do that as a way to have that barrier where I'm fine. I don't need to be asked. And if you have a glass of water, it doesn't work. But if you have a glass of wine, people will stop asking. I tell my patients, manage your lifestyle, but balance your lifestyle. So again, I will never force anyone to be a vegetarian. I will never say you cannot drink. It's terrible for you. Socially, it's acceptable, but know your balance. If you're going to have a glass of wine with dinner, choose the day that you're going to have it. Make it special so that it's not a constant and it's not habit forming. We don't want that, but a little bit will go a long way, and
Right.
you'll enjoy it more. And you'll start to see on the days that you don't have it and your body doesn't need it, you're going to want the water instead of the alcohol.
And you're going to sleep a lot better. And sleep is really important for your overall health as well. So anything that's going to support good sleep pattern
Your
is good.
cells- Your cells need that. Your body needs that sleep, that restful sleep. And the hydration. So when you're drinking alcohol, you're dehydrating those cells. You're making your organs work on a whole different level to clear that blood of that alcohol where it could be doing something else.
And it makes you gain more fat as well, because your body's not metabolizing the way it's meant to. So you'll see more belly fat from excess drinking.
And what do we have with belly fat? We have estrogen levels, right? Estrogen levels go up. In patients who are more obese, they have higher levels of estrogen, which increases your risk of developing a breast cancer because you have more unnecessary hormones that are circulating that your body, your DNA was not envisioned to have, right? We
Mhm.
are all a certain height when we are born. We have that height. I'm never going to be 6'1". I will never, no matter what I try to do, that's my blueprint. And so what we do in the environment can shift that blueprint. And what we eat is one of the most important ways that we can either shift it in the correct direction or shift it in the direction that causes all of these medical problems, blood pressure, diabetes, cancer.
Mhm.
So I tell all of my patients that we have to stop thinking about dieting, but thinking about what we're doing to change our DNA blueprint for the better. There are certain
Yes.
things that we can't change. We can't change our genetics. If you have a strong family history of breast cancer, I can't change that. But I can help modify your environmental risk by educating you about eating healthier, exercising to combat that and keep that shift so it doesn't go in the wrong direction.
Yes.
And
That
really
smells
quick, we
amazing.
do have a
Okay.
question from chat from
Okay.
Meryl. She does ask, we're going to backtrack just a little bit, but we have a question. Do you have any recommendations for healthy, good tasting gluten-free breads?
I'm not gluten-free. I did try it for a month just so I could see what it was like to eat gluten-free and the struggles. I don't know of any brand names off the top of my head, I think it was Canyon was the name, and it was in the Greenwise section of Publix, shelf stable. I think they sold it at Costco or Sam's Club as well. But when I was going out to restaurants and eating gluten-free, I would ask the waiters, give me the gluten-free bun. And they were pretty darn good. So, but I just never bought them for my house to eat at home because I'm not a gluten-free house. But when you're going out and getting gluten-free bread at a restaurant, I would suggest asking, what brand do you use? And they'll likely share it. Heck, they'll share you
It's
the recipe
trial
with
and
you.
error sometimes, finding some of these healthier breads that have the fiber. Until I came across Dave's, I really didn't find one that I really liked. And now I like Dave's and I use that. I'm also not a gluten-free household. I don't shop gluten-free. I don't know off the top of my head what I would recommend for a patient or
Right.
for a
Yeah.
family member. I would have to do the whole trial and error thing.
And I like fresh bread or bread on the shelf versus frozen bread. It just tastes better to me. And I know in the frozen section, there's a lot of frozen gluten-free bread, but I didn't try it. And some of those have a lot of sugar substitutes in it. So you kind of have to watch out for sugar substitutes as well, because that can wreak havoc on your gut microbiome.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of sugar substitutes. I am not. I'm okay with that. I actually would prefer honey, syrup, things that are naturally occurring that we don't have to extract from it, brown sugar, and then using less. You would be surprised if you use maple syrup or honey, you end up using less.
Mm-hmm.
The artificial sugars are tricking your body into thinking that it's getting the sugar that it needs to function. But when it doesn't get it, it goes into a feedback loop and it starts to make more of, the diet soda companies, these fat-free, the Splendid, they're not going to like what I'm saying, but I don't think that they're healthy for you.
No, they're not.
They are not healthy for you, and counter to what they're sort of perpetrating that their diet food. It's actually doing the exact opposite because it's tricking your body. You
Right.
don't want to trick your body. You want your body to say, I'm eating this. I'm getting sugar from this element. I'm getting my vitamin A from here. This is what I need. I'm good.
Mhm.
And everything else we can get rid of.
Yeah. Have you heard of Dr. Gregor? He wrote the book, How Not to Die and How Not to Diet.
I have not. I mean,
You've got to get it. It's so good. I've been listening. It's a really thick book and he's a physician and he just goes through all these different evidence-based studies and explains it in layman's terms so that the general population can understand it better. And so had a long car ride, so I was listening to it and he was talking about the artificial sweeteners and how, if you're a diabetic and you're like, oh, I'm going to have all these Diet Cokes, I'm going to be totally fine. But they were finding that your blood sugar may not spike right then, but at lunchtime, it did go up just as much as the people that had a sugary beverage. So you may think that you're doing your body good, but it's really not.
It's not. It's triggering your system to go out
I'm
of
gonna
its
do one
normal
for the
feedback
fun and then
loop
break
to say,
down.
hey, this is not what we're seeing. And remember, what you're born with is what you're born with.
Mhm.
Your body's ability to do what it needs to do, that DNA blueprint has been set. And the problem is we keep trying to change it
Mhm.
externally. And these artificial sugars are one way that the pancreas just doesn't recognize that artificial sugar as something that we need.
Right.
It doesn't. And
Mhm.
so it continuously is stimulating to make more because it's not seeing what it needs to see.
Right.
I think that down the road, we're going to see these population-based studies show more gastric cancers, more pancreatic cancers. And I think it's all going to be related. I'm seeing a lot more of that.
Celebrities, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if we just go back and look at the data, when did diet sodas come into play?
Mhm.
Early 70s, 80s,
Mhm.
right? Now we're hitting the 2000s and we're starting to see a uptick.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. I love you guys. I brought you my special ice from home. My husband loves Wawa ice and Chick-fil-A ice. And I was watching a TikTok Made Me Buy It series on television while I was folding laundry one day. And they're like, it was an ice maker, a Chick-fil-A ice maker, $350. And I'm like, should we get it? He's like, do it. So brought you some of the Chick-fil-A ice. And so this is a mixture of grapefruit juice and lemon juice and a little bit of maple syrup. And it calls for a lime flavored soda water. I was trying to be economical and I was going to get the big 2 liter, but then when I looked at it, it had over 100 calories. And I'm like, what? no, I thought soda water had no calories and tonic water had calories, but this brand did. So then I went to my old standby Spindrift, and it doesn't, it's just, the only ingredients is carbonated water and lime juice.
And it's
Fresh.
delicious.
Yeah. So then I'm gonna pour that on top, and then we'll serve that with a straw, and you can stir it up. So Jackie will help get some of these ready for us.
You can make it little
And while
fancy
you're
and add some
serving, we
fruit
do
to
have
that.
another
You can take
question
a
from
slice
chat.
of grapefruit. put that on
Yes,
there,
yes.
A little spearmint or mint to make it fancy.
Very good. Yes.
And while you guys are serving, we do have another question from chat. We also have a question. What is stevia?
Stevia is plant-based. Again, I think it still falls in the realm of artificial. If you taste it, it does not taste like something that is natural. So I initially was on that whole stevia kick, and I actually did a little bit
Oops.
more research, and I've decided that I think for me, more natural is better. So now I only have honey, maple syrup, and brown sugar in my home.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with it once in a while. I think that instead of using that as a complete substitute for everything, I am not a fan of.
But if you're trying to cut off away from like Splenda or the pink packets or the blue
This is
packets,
great.
this will be a great
bridge.
segue, or monk fruit would be a great
Mhm.
segue. And just kind of wean yourself down. When you drink or eat less sugar and artificial sweeteners, eventually you'll not want it as much, and you'll notice that it's just too sweet when you have something that's sweetened like that.
It makes a huge difference. If you start going from stevia and Splenda and then transition and do this for 2 weeks, you won't be able to go back to Splenda and
Right.
stevia or monk fruit.
I
And you'll see that you'll use less.
have a dirty little secret. I used to drink Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi, 2 liters before noon every day. Then I switched to Crystal Light in the afternoon. What? And even when I got pregnant, I was like, how much caffeine can I have when I'm pregnant? Okay, that's how many cans I can have. I literally would wake up and get a can from the garage every day. And I just made a decision one day, I'm not going to do this anymore. And the taste of it, it absolutely repulses me now because I've changed my taste buds and I don't have the extra sugary sensations anymore. Yeah,
Yes.
it's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And that's what I'm saying, like, what the heck? I'm a nutrition expert. I know better, but the food, I went to a dietitian conference years ago, probably 20 years ago. And you know who the sponsors are? Coke, Pepsi, Kraft. And it's like, really? So it's like they're funding all this stuff. So you really need to do your own research too. And okay, perfect.
You really do have to, and you have to think about what you're putting in, ask those questions, and I do that now. Being in medicine, I come from a vegetarian home, you would think, oh, she's probably super healthy, but during my pregnancy, I had root beer every day. Root beer, not diet root beer, regular root beer.
Yeah.
Mhm. And of course, now there's no soda in my home.
Yeah.
My kids don't want soda. When we go out and they know it's a special treat, if they get a soda, we don't do diet. I would rather you do the regular
Mhm.
because of the less processed, less artificial is what I would prefer. So if you're going to have something, have the regular one.
Mhm.
I don't want you to have it in general, but it's, again, cold turkey, you don't want to do.
Right,
It's fine.
right.
But they'll have a little bit and they won't finish any more of that. Like you can give them a glass and they'll have 2 sips and like, we're done. And they want water. So your body will learn these and you'll feel better.
And
You
back
will
in the
feel
day,
better.
our serving sizes were a lot smaller than they are now.
This is a small now.
Yeah, I know. When I had my aha moment, I'm not going to drink Diet Pepsi anymore. I went to the gas station, got a 64 ouncer of Diet Pepsi because the fountain always tastes better. And that's what I wanted. 64 ounces for one serving. That's ridiculous.
That's another thing that's changed quite a bit, just from when I was in high school to now I'm 43. Everything has doubled in size, everything,
Mhm.
every portion size. And I fell into that too, thinking, oh, it's bigger, it's better, it's cheaper. Actually, at the end of the day, it's not. You waste more food, you're wasting more money.
Mhm.
You have, we have
And
to
you're
scale
paying
back.
more in medical bills and medications because you're getting sick from it.
Exactly.
And we do have another question from chat. This is from Michelle. Does stevia still cause an insulin release?
I think that it does the same thing. Yes, it does.
Mhm.
I think that it does the same thing. Again, I will have to do a little bit more research and figure that out. But I do believe that stevia falls in, again, one notch below Splenda and
Equal,
Sweet and
yeah,
Equal.
yeah.
But yes, it does. And I think that it's just still not enough for your pancreas to recognize that as a natural sugar that it can extract nutrition from.
Mhm.
So I do believe that. So I stay away from all of that. And yes, I was on the stevia bandwagon for a bit of time, and I quickly came off of that.
Mhm. And in the chat, for the people that are on chat, we have a link. I have a book, ebook on Your Ultimate Guide to Nutrition and Cancer Prevention. I also have a link to my ebook, I'm sorry, my Amazon store. I have a little short video showing you about my new meal plan program that I use with my one-on-one clients if they're really wanting to dial in and learn how to improve their health and their diet. You'll also get a weekly email for my Tasty Tuesday email series. So you'll get a recipe in your inbox, and they're not all vegan or vegetarian. There's a variety of things in there, but I definitely am more of a plant-powered, plant-forward eater. So I try and expose you to new things like that. And once a month, I am here teaching in our theater. Next month, we are going to be doing diabetes. And February is a perfect month for that. I'm going to be making a dessert, a brownie dessert, and it's delicious. And it's got, I think it only, like normally a brownie would have like 20 grams of sugar in it, but I think it has 8. And it's made with natural sugars and things like that. It doesn't have black beans in it. I'm not going to trick you that way, but black bean brownies do taste good. And I think I'm doing tempeh tacos with that one, and a loaded black bean dip. That's good. So
That's right in time for Super Bowl.
yes, yes, yes. So February 1st. So their seats are limited to 8. So if you are interested in coming, we are not going to be doing it virtual, correct? So when we have the physicians with us, we get to do it virtual, which is awesome. And then in March, we're going to be doing one on women's health and with a physician in March. And I'm not sure exactly what our focus will be. I'm thinking like hormone health, because a lot of when we get older, we worry about our hormones.
Well, we have that shift, and that
Mhm.
shift happens in all women. You know, I get this question all the time. What can I take for my menopause and having all of these symptoms? And I ask them, well, it's our natural predisposition. Oh, how many women go into menopause?
All
You'd
of
be surprised how many people say, well, 50%. Actually, all women go into menopause. If the body was designed that we couldn't handle menopause, it wouldn't happen.
right.
But the problem is we're very quick in our society to have a
Pill.
fix for everything. We need to let our bodies adjust to those changes. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who have very severe side effects, but we live in Florida. Everybody has a hot flash.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that you can combat. Nutrition is one of those places where you can say, I can help eliminate some of the degree of those hot flashes, some of that bloating that will happen. Exercise, another way to combat some of the hormonal shifts that can happen. But it's not always, a quick fix is not always the answer with pills or adding extra hormones into our system.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to have a guess. How many different plants did we get today?
This is delicious.
Thank you. All right. I heard 7. What else? 21, 15. Anyone in the chat have any guesses? 24,
I think 25.
25.
Anybody in chat would like to guess?
Okay. Well, you are an expert. 25 right on the nose. And you may not have thought to count is the different spices that I use because those come from plants. So that pushes it up. So using those spices in your pantry is really health beneficial and it adds a lot of different flavor. I don't recommend using the spice thing that you got when you got married 25 years ago, because it's probably tastes like sawdust. It looks really pretty on the counter, but probably doesn't taste that good anymore. So the spices and herbs last about 6 months to a year. So don't go to Costco and Sam's and buy them in bulk. You're not going to use them all. I do like red pepper flakes. So and it was cheaper to buy this in bulk, but I don't really recommend buying big bulk spices and herbs because you're not going to get the health benefits and the flavor from it.
And then you're gonna waste, right? Then you're gonna open the packet and say, "Well, this doesn't taste as good."
I must not eat healthy then.
Yeah, I
Forget
can't
it.
eat a healthy because this, I mean, the cumin that you used is from 3 years ago.
Right.
And the reason why it doesn't taste flavorful is because your cumin has no flavor.
Right.
So what you're using is just as important too.
And if you go to stores like, I think Sprouts might do it. I know Fresh Market does it. They sell some spices in different little baggies. So if you're not sure if you like smoked paprika,
Right.
buy a smaller portion of it and try it and see if you like it. Then you can invest in the bigger ones.
And also at Sprouts and Trader Joe's, let's say you do get something and you don't like it, keep the receipt. If you're trying something new, they will
Oh,
take it back.
That's great.
Mhm.
That is great to know.
Mhm. Now,
Very
you can't
good.
use the whole thing,
No,
but if you buy something, you just don't like the flavor or it doesn't, you didn't want to use it, they will take it back.
that's great. And you can make different spice blends yourself. So if you find, oh my gosh, I do have a lot of spices that I probably should use up, you can mix, I have an ebook and you can email me and say, I want your ebook. It's 12 different spice blends that you can make. My family loves Greek chicken and I have a spice blend that I use for that. I'll put it on the chicken. I'll put it on chickpeas sometimes when I roast them and on potatoes. We also have a taco seasoning, lots of different varieties. So you can use up those spices and herbs that you have in your pantry. And I would not store them by the oven because the heat will make it go bad. I put it in my pantry where it's often dark and not brightly
You
lit.
can also put them in the fridge
Yeah, you can put them in the fridge if you have space.
because the fruits and veggies are taking up so much.
Exactly.
Well, as we start to wrap up, I just want to drop a couple dates into everybody's brains to keep in mind. So our next food is medicine session, which is here in the kitchen. And the next one's going to be cooking for heart health. And that's going to be February 11th. It's going to be with Chef Colette Hall, who many of you know here from the Nourish Cafe. And it's going to be with Dr. Turlben Patel of the Advent Health Cardiovascular Institute. So we still have a couple spaces left here in the Nutrition Theater. And of course, if you want to tune in from the webinar, that one's going to be in the evening from 6 to 7:30. So in case you've got friends who can't make it during the day, that's a good opportunity to come in the evening. As Allison mentioned, she's back February 1st with Cooking for Diabetes, and we got a few seats left for that. So, be sure to sign up and get your spots for that. And we've got tons of more cooking programs. She mentioned the Well Woman program. We've got a couple other ones coming up. We'll be adding them all the time. We've got lots more cooking ones to come. And in addition to other things here at the Center for Health and Wellbeing, we actually have a really great series coming up in the next couple of weeks with Advent Health again, which is strength training for osteoporosis. You don't have to have osteoporosis, but if you're concerned about bone health,
this will prevent osteoporosis.
Exactly. So on January 24th, Dr. Epstein from the Rothman Orthopedic Institute will be here with a lecture, followed by the following week from Cody. I'm forgetting Cody's last name right now, from Crosby Wellness Center, who's going to take you through some exercises so you can leave with a full sleeve of exercises to do to help prevent it. So lots of great programs. As you guys know, most of them are free, some of low cost, lots of great arts classes coming up and writing classes. So we're happy to have you back in the building, and Dr. Saigal are going to put our heads together and get her back here more often.
I love it.
So, and a couple of things, you guys will also get a survey to your emails after this. So please do take a couple moments to do that. And those of you at home in the chat box, I've dropped it there. I'll put it again, but that really helps us know how this program went. But that's a great opportunity to share what cooking classes you want to see. Allison and I go to that first when we start brainstorming what classes we're going to do next. So if there's a specific disease you'd like for her to cook for, diet, she and I are brainstorming if we can make an air fryer class work in here. So if there's anything like that you've ever wanted to learn to do, yeah, let us know. And I didn't bring my air fryer for you to see today, Allison. I was supposed to. So anyway, that's a really great opportunity to let us know what you got coming up. So we hope to see you all back here in the Nutrition Theater soon, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. Thank you.
Oh, I love my air fryer.
Thank you. So what'd you guys think of the dish?
It's delicious.
Good. Nice.